So Suri and Sudhir, I'd like to start by asking you about cloud. I mean, there are so many conversations that are happening around cloud, and surveys suggest that a Gartner survey has suggested that public cloud services is expected to grow to 20.7%. So I'd like to ask, where does cloud figure in your priority list for Tech Mahindra?
Okay. Let me first give you my background. I think this gives it a context. 35 years in the industry. I started when the computers and punch cards on mainframe at 4 floors. So then the journey. I'm here in Tech Mahindra because I had a second startup that I started in Silicon Valley, which is all about cloud, 2015. The opportunity that we saw at the time working with the technology first companies, right? People said, cloud is not about just moving workloads to cloud, but how can we shorten the cycle? How can I do releases faster? How can I create new business outcomes that were not possible? So that's something that I saw the technology first companies and a lot of the experience that they did in 2015, the first 2-3 years of the startup, was with the technology first companies. And they were very clearly saying, yes, the first journey is we move toward the cloud, but the real benefit of cloud comes in when you build brand new application that you could not do before. Instead of making a release, which is happening over 6 months, can I do it on a week? Can I do it on a daily basis? Now you got some companies which are doing releases every second. What that really meant is putting the power back with the developers, right? The whole concept of DevOps came in when the developers themselves will get the code and release it without, which means a lot of the automation needed to happen. The other two realities that we saw in 2015, right? One, not everything will move to cloud. That was a given, even though intent is there, people will benefit because of security, because of proprietary nature, or because the costs are moving a lot higher, because of different decisions. A lot of say, this stuff, I'll move it on-prem. A lot of time will be security. And some stuff I'll put on workload. Second thing they said, they will not bet on just one hyperscaler, right? They'll always keep a bet, I'm going to keep, I don't want to be held hostage to one hyperscaler. I would keep at least 2. And then the patterns started emerging. One hyperscaler is in data and AI. Let's put that workload there. One hyperscaler is very strong in compute. I'll put them here. One would say, you acquired a retail company, so all retail companies said, I'm not going to work with you because you're my direct competitor now, right? Different criteria, but they decided more than one. So 2 realities, hybrid multi-cloud reality, which basically meant we learned the tools and methodology that we use to build cloud-native application, which is where a lot of spend is today. We cannot use tools which are hyperscaler-centric tools, right? Because if you want to provision a hardware, you want to be able to provision it across any hyperscaler or on-prem. Similarly, if you want to do security, you don't want to kind of do in and out because it's very inefficient. So the journey that we created, the IP that we created from the startup world was the cloud-native engineering journey. How do you build cloud-native application on the cloud, right? How do you bring data in and do AI, ML, right? So that is the learning that we brought to the table. And that's where I think almost $6 or $7 spend is happening today, is in the second horizon. Just to give the context, Horizon 1, which a lot of people call, is taking workloads and move to cloud, right? And then optimize. Second part is how do you build cloud native application ground up, microservices. I don't want to bore you with Java, the technology jargon, but Java, microservices, Kubernetes, all those technologies just come in. Similarly, data transformation to the data mesh and data fabric. Where the future is actually in the vertical clouds, right? And that is where we want to leapfrog. So we had a thought process when I was offered this role to run this cloud service globally by Sudhir and the management team. I said one option is, we try to catch up, but let's look at where the cloud is headed. Let's try to catch the next wave and be a leader. And next wave is in the vertical clouds. So what is all the hyperscalers are doing? They're getting a cloud for telco, specific with telco. They'll create a cloud for government. There's a cloud for healthcare. There's a cloud for retail. There's a cloud for telco operators. So those are being created. And what we've done is last almost several months, we actually gone up and talked to all the hyperscalers, and we're figuring out where the tech and strengths are and the vertical strengths we have. And we're actually building a real IP, not a framework, not a PowerPoint, but a real piece of software on those 4 or 5 verticals. So when they announce that in the next 1 or 2 years, we already embedded. Okay, and the launch that we're doing on Cloud Blaze today, it actually covers all 3 horizons. Doesn't matter if you're in the lift and shift, you got IP. If you're in the app modernization, you got IP. If you got vertical cloud, we got an IP. So we kind of doing end-to-end, all 3 horizons, IP, not PowerPoint, a real piece of software. with a commitment to saving, I think is almost 25 to 30% saving. So you don't have to reinvent ground up. Sorry, a long story. But
I'll keep it short. So Sudhir, you did call out in terms of the numbers. I believe some of the reports actually suggested it would be closer to about $550 billion by end of this calendar itself, right? Okay. And in my mind, the 20% acceleration probably is slightly underbought. Okay. And I'll tell you the reason behind it. Okay. As Suri rightly pointed out, okay, there is a $10 spend, okay, from an enterprise standpoint. And if you take that as an action or the action from a pie perspective, it's a $3 which is on the infrastructure where the most of the acceleration has happened, right? It's the $7 on the app and data, okay, which still, and a good amount of verticalization, okay, which is still there to be done. And that's purely from an enterprise standpoint. What we are still trying to get our arms around, and I'll tell you, and India is a classic story of what you would have seen, be it in terms of the Paytm or any of those. And those folks are not on-premise infrastructure, they are on hyperscaler infrastructure, right? The whole of the B2C, okay, and be it on the private sector, government sector, okay, and I was listening to Nandan recently, okay, he did do a presentation from where India would be in 2032, right, okay. I would say the entire explosion from a B2C standpoint and those services, right, on the hyperscalers would really drive the growth percentage to a different orbit altogether. That's my personal opinion, and I feel we are just tapping the surface. It's still much way to go about it. So the SaaS companies will play a significant role because the SaaS actually is built largely on the hyperscalers. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. That was a great context, Suri and Sudhir. Thank you so much for that. So, while talking about, technologies, you already mentioned a fair bit of technology, but I'd like to ask that there is an influx of new age technologies like AI, ML, metaverse is the new thing. So how do these technologies impact cloud? And also, are you planning to come up with any sort of new cloud offering, in concern with these technologies?
I think like you rightly said, the cloud journey, different horizon. So this stuff that we're talking about is the so-called classic Horizon 3, which is coming up. So the 3 verticals that we've chosen that we're going to deep dive. One is the telco no-brainer. Second is the manufacturing 4.0, the digital twin, the factory of the future, different words, but we're investing very heavily. Third is the auto. And the other 2 areas which are upcoming where you're going to invest a lot of effort. One is the metaverse, like you rightly pointed out. Because metaverse thrives on 2 things. One is on the XDS experience, user experience XDS. The second is the connectivity. Those are 2 components. We had this company called Bond, which was acquired a few years ago. They actually bring a lot of experience, studio level design. They have a lot of marquee clients. And they have a lot of studios, one in London, one in New York, which they do high quality resolution. So what we've done is we've taken the data journeys a lot of customers that they have, applying ML. What that tells you that what are the customers looking for? Where are the clicks happening? Where there's an interest? So what you're doing is taking the ML data back to our XDS team. So when they design the next application, they know where to put those buttons, where to emphasize. So there's a link that you're doing along with XDS, right? Second is metaverse, like you said, is also the connectivity 5G. So that's an area of strength for us. So those 2 are going to play very strongly in metaverse. And the other area, so metaverse is one. The other area we're going to invest is sustainability.
Yeah.
So sustainability is huge. TechM is very well recognized. One, of course, is embracing that internally, but we also turning this into a solution that is building jointly with hyperscaler because hyperscaler also see us as a leading player. They also want to play with us. So we're looking at that as 2 upcoming areas that you can invest. So telco, manufacturing 4.0, auto, followed by metaverse and the sustainability. The 5 teams are definitely on the radar right now, big time.
Great to know. I mean, thank you so much, Suri, for that. So Suri, all the technologies that you mentioned, right? This needs a sort of a skilled talent and, is it available in the country? And what is the bearing that these trends, what do you expect it to have on the ecosystem, the skilling ecosystem, the talent ecosystem? Yeah.
I'll start up. I'll let the champion talk here. But I'll say I think the first thing is the talent for the new technologies. There's nothing out there. Even the universities are a little behind. right? The way we're overcoming is we have something called cloud finishing school, right? And cloud finishing school addresses one, the lateral hires. So you take a traditional Java architect and how do you turn them into cloud savvy with all the microservices. So there is a training curriculum. We actually have that in place today. I think for the lateral hires, it's like a 12 to 14 week process, but we can do it at leisure. And there's an ecosystem. There's a classroom content. There's a evaluation criteria which is built in. And same thing we also now embarking on the universities. One example is Mahindra University. We're putting this whole cloud finishing school in Mahindra University, which kind of caters to a lot of other people. We experimented that in US. It's on the old times. So I'm a very big fan of building talent, right? So one, on the university hires, we have a curriculum to reskill, upskill those people. And for lateral hires also, somebody who knows Java, how do you kind of get into my cloud? So both areas, we're spending a lot of money and effort in upskilling. So
as Suri pointed out, for us, the cloud finishing school is a bedrock in terms of ensuring that the enablement is across the entire IT workforce that we carry at this point in time. Today, from a percentage wise, we would be about 20-25% of our folks will be working on cloud technologies. That means that there's a 75% of the folks who can be retrained, upskilled to actually get to that. In terms of the areas, the infra modernization, app modernization, data modernization into the cloud. And the other 2-3 streams that we're looking at is in terms of the SAP on cloud, Oracle on cloud, and then as you called out, the metaverse part of it, which is gaining more momentum, the IoT on cloud. So we have specific streams around it to actually accelerate, in alignment with where we are seeing the business potential actually coming through. What further helps us, as Suri rightly pointed out, the whole of the story of phygital, which is the physical and the digital aspect, right? For many an IT organizations, except for some of the other business houses, probably one or two of them, they don't necessarily get to see what does this translate if you were to create some solution around it. We acquired a company called Pininfarina. I'm not sure whether you're familiar with it. That's the one which actually does the design engineering for Ferrari, McLaren, and all of those cars, right? And today we have a Battista as one of the cars down over there, which is supposed to be the fastest. Now, where I'm coming in from is that anything that we attempt to do, we get to actually work closely with our group companies. And the group companies include Mahindra Financial Services, Mahindra Defense, and all of them, right? And that's helping us in terms of accelerate our customers' journey into the cloud, AI, ML use cases, and all of that. That's all what I wanted to put onto the table to say that the business house and the collaboration with the larger Mahindra ecosystem is definitely helping us accelerate the customer's journey into cloud.
Yeah, that was fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Sudhir and Suri. So which are the industries that are leading cloud adoption? I mean, what have you witnessed amongst your customers, if I may ask?
I'd say it's pretty pervasive. I think if anybody's lagging, it's probably government and public sector utilities, maybe. If you leave those out, I think everybody else is adopting cloud. I think there's no choice. And the fact that all the hyperscalers themselves are building vertical clouds for government, for public sector, for utilities, for healthcare, just shows that there's a market out there for everybody. So I think that would be my short answer.
Yeah, so the way, Supriya, in my mind, how you need to look at from an adoption standpoint is that in every industry there are top quartile performers.
Yeah.
And the top quartile performers are extremely digital savvy. And they would take on the journey, onto cloud, much faster, right? So there may be industries like a mining, for that matter, may have a lag, in terms of actually getting there. But even out there, right? Some of the technologies that we have used to bring the cloud closer to them, the hyperscalers, with the 4G and the 5G now being available, or an LTE environment now being available, we are actually attempting to do, you have the hyperscalers on-prem kind of a solution, right? So that that can be hooked up to the larger cloud for the other AI, ML, and other services to be tapped into. So that's how we are seeing it at this point. But across the board, if you were to name it, definitely the banking financial services, is off the block, much early on. The telcos, okay, have done exceptionally well in terms of the retail part of it, okay, that, including the Walmarts of the world, right? Okay, today you would find it not very different from an Amazon in terms of what they can do similar to what. Okay, it's just that Amazon had a head start, okay, vis-a-vis, okay, a Walmart for them.
That was wonderful to listen to. And mining and cloud is something I have never heard of together before. Thank you for that insight. So I'd like to ask you, Suri and Sudhir, in conclusion, what more can we expect from Tech Mahindra? And if there's something that you'd like to add that I may have missed out on asking, I'd be happy to hear.
The key thing is, to me, like I said, a lot of people started with the Horizon 1 leadership. They spend right now is in the middle Horizon 2, which is app modernization and on the data transformation. There, I think combination of some of the acquisition and the internal talent and IP, we're launching this BlazeTech, which kind of covers this. But where we want to be known right now is industry solution. That's coming up next. We don't want to we don't want to play catch-up game. We want to leapfrog. So when the next wave comes 6 months, a year or two from now, when those vertical clouds got announced, our aim is that our strength, our IP is embedded already. So people don't question TechM's leadership in that area. So that's why I say we'll pick 4 or 5. We're going to really deep on this. We're going to invest time, not a PowerPoint, not a methodology, a real piece of software, which is going to be there, give customers a 30 to 40% savings, so they don't have to reinvent, and be a leader at least on those 5. While they're saying we'll be good at everything, but on those 4 or 5, there should not be any competitor next to us. I think that's what I would like to leave there.
Yeah. That's definitely okay our core focus and what we want to do. But I should call out in the TechM space, right? Okay, Tech Mahindra space, right? We always believe in terms of throwing few balls in the air. Some may stick, some may not stick. So we have what we term to be the garage solution factory, right? Okay, and that may also mean that we could potentially pivot and build something in the SaaS space, okay, not necessarily sticking to the core of us being just an IT services player alone. So I just wanted to say that the art of possible within this organization is way beyond, okay, what some of us tend to imagine. So we necessarily don't want to be just an IT services, but in the garage, if we come across something which can be SaaSified, it could be a potential next level of spin-offs or whatever you may call it.
And just to wrap it up, sorry. Yeah. Also, the talent, like you said, is another challenge for a lot of people. So make sure that what you sell can also be delivered well. So there's a lot of emphasis on talent building, both lateral and university. So there's a lot of investment in making on the talent side as well to make sure that we get cloud-savvy people for the future.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sudhir and Suri. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to you, and it was wonderful to know about the focus areas for Tech Mahindra, the companies that are going about with cloud adoption, and the emphasis that you're paying to talent and the skilling ecosystem. Thank you so much. It was wonderful to know. I'm sure even our audience will appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thanks.